This episode was produced by Bach Pro Se. Run your own legal research at prose.trybach.com.
You know, you sent us this massive stack of material today.
I did.
And I have to say, looking through your notes, it brought back some serious anxiety for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because usually, when we talk about moving out of a rental, the focus is entirely on the physical exhaustion.
Right. The boxes.
Yeah, the cardboard boxes, the bubble wrap, the endless trips up and down the stairs.
Oh, the stairs are the worst.
They are. But you highlighted the actual real stress, which is that moment you finally hand over the keys, you're sitting in your new place, and you are just waiting for that security deposit to hit your mailbox.
Yes, exactly.
Because that $1,500 or whatever it is, that's a lifeline. I mean, that's money you've already mentally spent on groceries or utility deposits for the new apartment.
Right. It's already budgeted out.
Exactly. And instead of a check, you go to the mail and you find this nasty letter from your former landlord claiming the entire amount for, I don't know, paint, cleaning, and some mystery scratches on the floor.
It's the worst feeling.
It is a 2.0 a.m. wide awake, pure panic moment.
It is an incredibly stressful scenario for anyone to face, which is why we're dedicating this entire deep dive to the sources you provided.
Yeah.
We're pulling our insights directly from Florida Legal Help by Bach Pro Se.
Yeah.
And yes, for anyone listening, that is Bach Pro Se, and it rhymes with day.
Rhymes with Dave, got it.
Right. And our goal here is to unpack the extremely specific, frankly, rigid rules of Florida Statute Section 83.49.
Because what your sources make glaringly obvious is that, well, when you get that letter, the first move isn't to start screaming about whether your dog actually scratched the baseboard, right?
No, not at all.
It's not about who damaged what.
Yeah.
This is, first and foremost, like a rigid game of procedural rules.
Absolutely.
So before anyone argues over a scuffed floor, we have to look at the mechanics where that money even lives, and the clock that starts ticking the second you hand over those keys.
Right.
So let's start with the money itself. I always just assumed that, when I hand a landlord or a deposit check, they decash it, put it in their bank account, and maybe use it to fix a leaky roof or buy groceries until I move out.
Yeah, that is a really widespread assumption.
Right.
But under Florida law, it is actually highly illegal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the statute strictly prohibits a practice called commingling.
Commingling.
Right. A security deposit is not the landlord's personal operating fund. It doesn't matter how tight their cash flow might be that month.
I see.
They are required to hold your money in one of three very specific ways.
Okay, what are they?
Well, they can use a separate non-interest-bearing account in a Florida financial institution. They can use a separate interest-bearing account. Or they can post a surety bond.
Wait. Before we go further, explain posting a surety bond to me like I'm 5.
Sure.
Because I'm imagining a landlord, locking a pile of cash in a medieval chest somewhere.
It is slightly less dramatic than that, but it serves a similar protective purpose. So a surety bond involves the landlord paying a premium to a third-party bonding company.
Right.
That company then essentially guarantees the state that the deposit funds are available if the tenant is owed a refund.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it allows the landlord to use the actual cash, but only because they've purchased this insurance-like guarantee that the tenant's money is safe.
Got it.
But whether it's a bond or a separate bank account, the core principle remains the same. The landlord cannot simply mix your security deposit into their personal checking account.
So if we use an analogy, the security deposit is basically sitting in a legal waiting room.
That's a great way to put it.
It is your money held in trust until the lease is over and the final accounting is done.
Exactly.
And once that lease is over, reading through your Bach Pro, materials, it looks like a very intense timer starts.
Oh, it does, yeah. Once the rental agreement terminates, this highly inflexible statutory timeline kicks in.
Okay.
The easiest way to visualize this is the 15-30-15 rule.
Okay, let me see if I can deduce this from the notes here.
Go for it.
So if I move out, I leave the place absolutely spotless, and I don't owe any back rent. The landlord has 15 days to just hand me my money.
Correct.
But if my dog chewed the blinds and they need to charge me for it, they get an extra 15 days to calculate that damage and formally notify me. So that makes 30 days.
Right.
And then once I get that notice, I get 15 days to respond.
That is an excellent summary of the mechanics.
Okay, good.
To flesh out the legal specifics, though, if no claim is intended, the landlord has exactly 15 days to return the deposit, plus any required interest.
Right.
If they do intend to impose a claim, they have 30 days from the termination of the rental agreement to provide a very specific written notice of their intention to keep some or all of your money.
Written notice. Okay.
And if you, the tenant, receive that written notice, you have exactly 15 days from the time you receive it to object in writing to their deduction.
Okay, so 15, 30, 15. But a ticking clock is only scary if there's a penalty for missing the alarm.
Oh, there is.
Because life gets busy, landlords procrastinate, mail gets delayed. So let's talk about the consequences. What happens if the landlord oversleeps that 30-day deadline?
Well, the penalties are incredibly steep, actually.
Really?
Yeah. If the landlord misses that 30-day notice deadline, the statute says they absolutely forfeit the right to impose a claim against the security deposit.
Wow.
They cannot even use it as a set-off.
Hang on, define set-off in this context.
Sure, so a set-off is simply a mechanism where the landlord secretly, or even openly, subtracts money you owe them from the deposit before returning the rest.
Oh, okay.
For instance, if you owed a $200 water bill, a set-off would be them just keeping $200 of the deposit to cover it.
Right.
The statute says if they miss the 30-day window, they lose the right to do that entirely. They must return the deposit.
Wait. So if I completely trashed the apartment, like punched holes in the drywall and owed 3 months of utilities,
Okay.
but the landlord forgot to send the letter until day 32,
Right.
they just have to hand me my $1,500 back.
They do.
That seems incredibly unfair to the landlord. They just lose.
Well, they lose the right to keep the security deposit, but they do not lose the right to pursue you for the damage.
Oh.
This is a crucial distinction that often confuses both parties. The statute specifically preserves the landlord's right to pursue a separate action for damages after returning the deposit.
I see.
They cannot hold your money hostage without following the procedural rules, but they haven't lost their underlying right to sue you for the drywall and the unpaid water bill later.
So the deadlines dictate who holds the cash during the dispute.
Exactly.
The law is essentially designed to prevent tenants from being held in financial limbo. Like, if the landlord doesn't follow the rules, I get my money back to use for my next apartment.
Right.
And the landlord has to go through the headache and expense of filing a lawsuit to prove I caused the damage.
Yeah.
It radically shifts the burden.
It shifts the burden of possession, and
Yeah.
the exact same logic applies to the tenant, by the way.
Oh, how so?
Well, if the tenant receives a valid 30-day notice from the landlord, but fails to send a written objection within their 15-day window, the landlord is legally authorized to deduct the claimed amount.
Wow.
They then remit whatever balance is left to the tenant within 30 days of the original notice.
Okay, so if I forget to object, I lose the money.
Yes.
But following the logic we just established, failing to make a timely objection doesn't waive my right to seek damages in a separate action later, right? Like, I can still sue for a refund down the road.
You absolutely can.
Okay.
The statute expressly states that failing to object does not waive the tenant's right to seek damages later.
Right.
Again, missing your deadline simply means you lose the ability to freeze the funds right then and there. The landlord keeps the cash, and now you, the tenant, have to be the one to file the lawsuit and shoulder the burden of going to court.
Okay, so as long as the tenant watches the calendar, they have a solid defense.
Mostly, yes.
But reading through the Bach Pro Say sources, it's not just about when the notice is sent. It's about how it's sent and exactly what it says.
That is very true.
I'm guessing the landlord's notice can't just be a sticky note slapped on my new front door that says, hey, keeping your deposit for the carpets.
Far from it. The statutory content requirements for a claim notice are meticulous. Yeah. The notice must state the exact amount being claimed, the specific reason for the claim, and it must include a mandatory statutory warning telling the tenant they have 15 days to object.
Wow.
Crucially, it must also include the exact physical address where the tenant should send that objection.
It sounds like a game of Simon Says. Like, if the landlord doesn't say the exact magic words in the exact format, they lose the round.
That's a perfect analogy. And Florida courts take Simon Says very seriously.
Do they?
Oh, yeah. Your sources highlight a 2022 case from the Florida 2nd District Court of Appeal called Wooten v. Iron Acquisitions, LLC.
Right, the Wooten case?
No, I want to be clear for anyone listening. Just because the court ruled this way in Wooten does not automatically determine the outcome of your specific dispute. Every judge and every set of facts is different.
Of course.
However, this case is a massive flashing warning sign about how strictly these statutes are interpreted.
So what were the specific errors the landlord made in Wooten? Because if it made it all the way to an appellate court, I imagine it wasn't just a typo.
No, it wasn't a typo. The landlord sent a letter listing the deductions, but they failed on 3 critical procedural fronts.
Okay.
First, the notice wasn't sent to the tenant's last known mailing address.
Oh.
Second, it failed to notify the tenants of the statutory rule that they had to object in writing within 15 days.
Ouch.
Right. And third, it omitted the address to which the tenant's objection should be sent.
So they listed the damages. They probably had legitimate gripes about the condition of the property.
He might have, yeah.
But because Simon didn't say to include the 15-day warning, the landlord forfeited the claim against the deposit.
Exactly. The appellate court held that strict compliance with Section 83.49 is mandatory.
Straight compliance.
Yes. Substantial compliance, meaning, the landlord got close enough or that the tenant generally understood what was happening.
Right.
That was simply not acceptable because the notice lacked those specific statutory requirements. It was invalid.
Well, since we live in a digital age, and practically no one uses certified mail in their daily life anymore.
Very true.
I have to assume landlords are constantly tripping over these strict rules by just texting or emailing their tenants. I mean, does a text message count as written notice?
Not at all. In 2025, Florida enacted Section 83.505 specifically to address electronic notices.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and the rules are incredibly stringent. You cannot simply shoot off a text message or a casual email and call it legal notice.
Why not?
Well, for email delivery to be legally valid for these security deposit claims, it requires a signed addendum to the rental agreement.
So it's more like a digital certified letter.
Exactly.
I have to formally opt into this system when I sign the lease.
It must be a voluntary election by both parties.
Okay.
And the addendum has to use specifically designated email addresses. Plus, the tenant retains the right to update their address or revoke their consent to electronic notice at any time.
Right.
Furthermore, the sender, which is usually the landlord in this scenario, bears the obligation to retain evidence of the transmission.
Retain evidence.
Right.
So how does the ticking clock work with email? Because with certified mail, you have a postmark.
Right.
If a landlord emails me on day 29 at 11:59 p.m., but I don't open it until day 31, did they make the deadline?
They did.
Really?
Yeah. Under the statute, qualifying electronic notice is deemed delivered at the time it is sent, unless the sender receives a notification that the message was returned undeliverable.
Oh, wow.
So this makes the exact timestamp on that sent folder incredibly important for calculating those 15 and 30-day deadlines.
Okay, let's play out a scenario then.
Let's hear it.
Let's say everyone plays a perfect game of Simon Sex. The landlord has the email addendum. They send the perfect statutory notice with all the required warnings on day 29.
Yep.
And the tenant sends a perfect written objection on day 10. The money is officially frozen in that legal waiting room.
Right. Everyone did their homework.
Now we finally get to the actual meat of the argument.
Yeah.
What can the landlord actually charge for?
The million-dollar question.
Because I have always heard there's a strict 5-year rule for carpet in Florida. Like if the carpet is older than 5 years, they can't charge you a dime to replace it. Is that true?
We need to dispel that myth right now.
Oh, really?
Yes, unless the supplied sources for a specific jurisdiction expressly establish them as governing authority, which is rare.
Sure.
Florida does not have fixed statutory useful life charts for carpet, paint, appliances, or anything else.
Wow.
There is no magical 5-year carpet rule written into Florida Statute 83.49.
My mind is blown. So if there's no magic chart, how does a judge actually evaluate sun-faded curtains versus dog-chewed baseboards? Like what evidence actually matters when separating normal wear and tear from actual damage?
Well, a judge will look at the specific language in the lease, for one. We'll look at the age and condition of the property when the tenant moved in, the length of the tenancy, and the actual use of the space.
Makes sense.
Like a family of 5 living in an apartment for 10 years will naturally generate more wear and tear than a single person living there for 6 months.
Right, right.
But the absolute most critical pieces of evidence are move-in and move-out documentation.
Okay, like what?
We are talking about timestamp photographs, video walkthroughs, signed inspection reports,
Yeah.
and the landlord's actual invoices, estimates, and receipts.
So the burden of proof has to be on the landlord then.
Generally, yes.
If they want to keep my money, they have to prove that the deterioration goes beyond just the natural aging of the property.
Correct.
And if the landlord didn't document the pristine condition of the place before I moved in, they're going to have a really hard time proving I ruined the carpet.
Extremely hard time.
Because they have no baseline to compare it to.
Exactly. Courts generally presume that any deterioration found at move-out is ordinary wear and tear unless the landlord provides concrete evidence to the contrary.
I see.
Landlords cannot use a tenant's security deposit to fund the ordinary aging and renovation of their investment property.
Well, it feels like the tenant is remarkably well protected here, provided they read the statute and watch the calendar anyway.
They have a lot of tools, yes.
But I have to imagine landlords have a defense mechanism if a tenant just ghosts them or decides to break the lease early and skip town.
They do. And it is a massive procedural exception buried in Section 83.49, subsection 5.
Subsection 5, okay.
We can call it the 7-day trapdoor.
Ooh, ominous.
It is. Unless your written lease specifically provides otherwise, if a tenant vacates or abandons the property before the lease term expires, they are required by statute to give the landlord at least 7 days written notice before vacating.
Okay.
This rule also applies if a tenant leaves specified periodic tenancies without proper notice.
Hold up. Define periodic tenancy.
A periodic tenancy is a rental agreement that runs from period to period without a set end date, most commonly a month-to-month or week-to-week lease.
Okay, got it.
So if you are in one of these arrangements or if you are breaking a standard annual lease early, you must give that 7 days written notice.
Right.
And crucially, that notice must include an address where you can be reached.
You know, I can see how this happens all the time. Like a tenant buys a house, their closing gets moved up, and they move out a week before their apartment lease officially ends. They think they are doing the landlord a favor by getting out of the way. So what is the consequence of failing to send that 7-day notice?
Failing to provide this specific notice completely relieves the landlord of the 30-day claim notice requirement we just spent this entire time dissecting.
You're kidding.
I am not.
So by leaving a few days early without sending a formal letter with a forwarding address, the tenant accidentally triggers a loophole that voids the landlord's strict 30-day deadline.
Yes.
The landlord is suddenly freed from having to play, Simon says.
Yes. The 30-day statutory notice requirement evaporates.
Wow.
It is a prime example of why relying on general legal advice is dangerous, because general rules always have specific exceptions.
But wait, does the tenant automatically lose the money just because they fell through that trapdoor?
No. And that's important. The statute explicitly states that failing to give the 7-day notice does not waive the tenant's right to the security deposit itself.
Oh, okay. That's a relief.
Right. The tenant can still fight over whether the claimed damages are real. However, the tenant has lost their massive procedural shield.
I see. So what happens when the money is locked up, the letters have been sent, the trapdoors have been avoided, and nobody will back down?
Well...
So tenant insists it's normal wear and tear.
Mm-hmm.
The landlord insists it's malicious damage. We're just staring at each other across the legal waiting room.
Right.
What is the final step?
The final step is found in Section 83.493C, which is the dispute resolution provision.
Okay.
It states that if a dispute remains unresolved, either party may bring an action in a court of competent jurisdiction to determine who is entitled to the deposit.
Bring an action, meaning a lawsuit.
Exactly. And this provision contains what is arguably the most terrifying leverage in the entire statute.
What's that?
The prevailing party in that lawsuit is entitled to recover their court costs and a reasonable fee for their attorney.
Whoa. That is a terrifying amount of leverage.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, a fight over a $500 microwave cleaning fee could result in $5,000 in attorney's fees for the loser.
It easily could.
It's a game of legal chicken, where the penalty for blinking is paying the other guy's lawyer. How does this actually play out in reality? Like, do people really hire expensive litigators over a scuffed baseboard?
Generally, no. The threat of those fees is exactly what drives the real-world procedure.
Ah, I see.
Many of these disputes end up in Florida Small Claims Court, which is designed for faster, less formal resolution.
Okay.
If we look at Broward County as a local example of how this procedure works,
Yeah, I've used them.
their small claims limit is currently $8,000, which easily covers most residential security deposits.
Sure. Walk me through that. What does a small claims action in Broward County actually look like? Are we in a giant courtroom yelling objection?
Not usually, no. It begins with filing a statement of claim.
Okay.
The court then schedules a pretrial conference. But before you ever get to argue in front of a judge, the court will typically require the parties to attempt mediation.
Mediation.
Yes. Picture a small conference room where a neutral third party sits down with the landlord and the tenant.
Right.
The mediator will look at both sides and essentially say, are you absolutely sure you want to risk paying the other side's attorney's fees if the judge disagrees with your interpretation of these carpet photos?
Oh, wow. It is entirely designed to force a settlement.
It forces a realistic evaluation of the evidence.
Right.
If a landlord is frivolously claiming $500 without move-in photos, the mediator will warn them of the risk.
Right.
If a tenant is stubbornly fighting a perfectly documented claim for a shattered window, the mediator will warn the tenant.
Interesting.
If mediation fails and it remains unresolved, it eventually goes to a trial before a judge who will make a final ruling on who gets the money and who pays the costs.
Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground today, pulling from these Bach Pro Say materials.
You really have.
If you are sitting at your kitchen table right now, staring at a dispute letter, it all comes down to a specific checklist.
Yes.
You need to gather the physical evidence of your timeline, pull out your lease to find the exact amount of the deposit, find your exact move-out date,
Right.
locate the landlord's claim notice, and scrutinize the date it was sent and the method of delivery, whether that's certified mail tracking or the timestamp on an authorized email.
Check everything.
You need a copy of your written objection and proof of when you sent it. And for the actual damages, you must compile your move-in and move-out photos, inspection records, and all written communications.
Because it's all about preparation, not panic.
Exactly. Preparation, not panic. Don't assume you've lost just because you got a scary letter. Do your homework. You can dive deeper and research Florida law, all these deadlines, the procedures, and the specific sources that might apply to your own facts by visiting pros.tryback.com.
It really leaves us with a fascinating question to ponder.
What's that?
Well, we've spent this time analyzing rigid rules, strict compliance, forfeited rights, and the looming threat of attorney's fees.
Yeah, a lot of intense
It
stuff.
sounds inherently combative, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But if we pull back and look at the architecture of the statute,
Yeah.
is the intense, rigid structure of Florida's security deposit law actually designed to prevent lawsuits?
Oh, that's an interesting thought.
Because by making the penalty for procedural mistakes so astonishingly high, perhaps the law is actively forcing landlords and tenants to step back, communicate clearly, document their claims with hard evidence, and resolve their issues before they ever set foot inside a courthouse.
Well, I'll leave you to think about that the next time you're packing up those moving boxes. Catch you next time.
This episode was produced by Bach Pro Say. Run your own legal research at prosay.trybock.com.